Good day, everyone. Well, we've put it off long enough. And today we're finally going to embark in Orleans. After doing what small amount of summons we have available. Starting with 310 roll on FP. Not much luck there. Alright. Now over to story again. We have a couple summons. Come on, Oscar. Or gold. Gold's fine, I suppose. Caster. Wow. We take those. I was just mentioning how it'd be really nice to have a... I really like Nita Chris. She's a cutie pie. She's very good when it comes to farming. So casters have an advantage against assassins and berserkers. However, the way she works means she can actually clear waves against classes that aren't those two, because her Noble Phantasm has a good chance of inflicting instant death. So it's our bronze enemies, which are common fodder enemies, generally have quite high instant death rates. So it'll proc pretty often. If you level her first skill up, it further increases this instant death success rate. Of course, the priority to leveling her skills is this middle one. You want to get this to rank 8. Now, because after that, it will instantly give her over 100% charge on her MP. This means that if you can give her starting MP craft essence and give her some battery, she can quickly use her MP to clear the first wave, and then she can use her second skill to get her MP again and use it and clear a second wave. She's good for 2 waves by herself, basically. So she's quite handy. And she's a lovely AoE caster that we can work on. She does get an upgrade. As you can see, her MP is upgradable, so that helps the damage quite a bit once we get that. And in the future, she's even going to get a skill buff to this little puppy, which adds... what does it add? I think it increases the amount of HP you restore, and also makes it for your entire team. And it also adds a 310 art step for herself, which just further increases her MP damage in case her instant death doesn't proc. So she's a very, very good unit. Very helpful. So it's very nice we got that. Unfortunately, casters are disadvantaged against riders, so she won't be of too much use in Orleans. Plus, it'll be a while before we can get her skill ranks up. Because unfortunately, a lot of her... Okay. Another Battle of Camlin, can't be too upset at that, because we need a lot of copies of it. So if we didn't have Ushi in our rider slot, what we could do is go ahead and slap St. George in there, and slap Battle of Camlin on. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and feed her a little bit of XP just to push her up the list a bit. So she'll stand out from the bottom. Oh, good. We got a double success. Let's go ahead and raise Noble Phantasms. Shengong got MP2. So looking at Shengong's materials and Shakespeare's materials, I think Shengong's may actually be slightly easier. So I think we'll prioritize him for the Buster support first. That's my current thinking, at least. Oh, right. As for which assassin we're going to pick, well, the best one that we have available to us right now would be one of these two. So we'll just give her some levels. Oh, hello. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed last stream. Now she actually gets quite a few buffs over time. I'm not certain what all buffs she gets in NA yet. I think we at least have a NP and one of her skill buffs. But she gets another skill buff fairly recently in Japan. Okay, we just have an MP buff right now. We don't have a skill buff. That being said, we'll worry about that when the time comes. So she wasn't even in the game at base. She and Arsika and Kurzidam were all added in Camelot, from what I recall, which goes back to what I was saying. People really relied on Sasaki here. Because he was pretty much the only assassin available at the time that people would have that wasn't a gold one to go through Orleans with. That being said, this fight doesn't have any wyverns in it. Oh, these are people I followed. I was becoming a bit confused. We'll go ahead and use Bride, just because I never get much of an occasion to use her. So keeping Heracles in. Guess we'll just do this and go back to Ushi. Oh well. We're almost at the point where we can slap in another 4-star in our party. Should just be another master level. Actually, since this node is this story section is one fight, and then we get a Saint Quartz, we'll actually get another roll after this. That's pretty nice. It'd be funny if Osako came then, after I leveled Serenity. So Nera Bride is a very handy support unit. Well, I say support, she actually is a brilliant single target saber DPS, as well as a really good support. She can do either. Now what makes her so good is, right, well, for one, she has this, which really buffs up MP gain for an ally. She can put it on herself, and she's arts type, which means MP refund from her arts cards. Now her deck is double arts, double buster, and quick. She also has a large attack up, as well as crit star drop rate that she can buff someone with, including herself. The heal and defense up. This is about to get buffed here in a couple days, actually. I forget what it adds, but it's actually something pretty big. The funny thing is, just out of the gate, she was already one of a really strong unit, but for whatever reason people didn't realize, so they complained, so they keep buffing her, and she was already really strong, so it's one of those amusing things. Guess we'll just do this number. Nice little story touch there. If you'll notice, the soldiers got away instead of dying, and that's actually story related. Like, we're intentionally sparing them. So it's a nice touch. You know what? I just want to use one of the skills for kicks and giggles. So as you can see, now this is just the first fight, but it's not particularly any difficult than what we were doing in Yuki. And that's basically the case for this and the next Singularity as well. G'day, Spinal. How's it going? We are traipsing through Mario, France. Incidentally, right here, you see how after you clear a node, a story node, they will give you a Saint Quartz, and then they will give you some number of A enhancement material. That's a fairly recent addition to NA. We didn't used to have that, which made starting out and getting enhancement materials for your units even rougher. So anyone starting now is pretty lucky that we'd have that quality of life upgrade already. I'm sure it's actually a bit surprising anyone stuck with the game in the state it was when it very first came out in Japan. Like the daily quests, for example, those weren't even in the game. There wasn't a way to grind for EXP embers or materials or anything, except just do free quests over and over and get a bunch of very bad bronze XP. So you had a lot of difficulty leveling any servants at all. Instead of 3 Saint Quartz per roll, it was also 4. So that was a thing. And now this is something that's it's not fixed per se, but well, it's fixed in the way that there's an interlude that you have to do to, or a strengthening that you have to do to actually unlock it. But a lot of the non-gold units, the day 1 units, only had 2 skills instead of 3, because they didn't really care about the free units at all at the beginning of the game. So like Ushi, for example. Keep clicking the wrong thing. So you can see she has her 2 skills. Notice this says unlock conditions. She has to be fully ascended and clear a rank up quest. So she's one of them. These were the only 2 skills she had for a while until they finally added this rank up into the game. And it's like that for pretty much all the day 1 units. Robin Hood, for example, was one of them. Let's see. See, David isn't there. He just has to. So normally you get your 3rd skill after ascending for the 3rd time, but for day 1 units, or a lot of day 1 units, they only had the 2 skills, which is the big sad. Of course, as you saw, it's fine now because there were rank ups and the like. It's just, alright, summons. Silly me. We have 1 Saint Quartz summon, I think we'll go ahead and do it. Come on, Asuko. That's another archer. Come on, Robin. Okay, good. Now he's in B2, so he'll be packing even more of a wallet. Provided we can get his MP. We don't really have anything in the way of battery at the moment, unfortunately. Also, make sure you don't accidentally combine the wrong one as the base. You don't want to have your level 30 here and then accidentally combine him into the level 1, and now you're stuck with a level 1 Robin and have to re-leveling. That'd be a bit embarrassing. Luckily there's plenty of warning, like, yeah, this is going into this one. This is the one that's going to disappear. Alright. So now, some Archer and Lancer. We go ahead and do this. can switch in back up since he has a class advantage. Well, class advantage and class neutral, respectively. So you may wonder why I'm throwing so many units in the back line, and then I talk about Bond. Like, I've already explained that the goal is to get Heracles all the way to Bond 10 to get his craft essence, because then he becomes Super Heracles. However, a lot of strengthenings and upgrade quests for your noble phantasms or your skills are locked behind a certain amount of ascensions, as well as bond levels, bond requirements. So we're just getting a head start on some of those. You can think that being a one turn to Gilgamesh's charisma. Otherwise, they wouldn't have killed. I could probably talk a bit more about Mystic cards. Of course, I don't really have anything to show now, but here's your Mystic card page. Now, when you get others, they'll be down here, and you can easily scroll between them or swipe between them as you like. And each Mystic card, besides you changing your outfit, which is a fairly minor thing, it's not like you can really see a character model in game or anything. Well, a portrait really. They each have their own skills, so this basic one is actually really bloody good. This is a really well done one. You got your nice solid heal, nice attack up, and then a nice one turn evade. And as you can see, just like your servants, the skill ranks and all, which are tied to the Mystic card level as a whole, it all levels up at the same time. Can go all the way up to 10. And just like your servant skills at level 6 and level 10, they each get a turn knocked off the cooldown. So this will eventually be cooldown 7 at rank 10. This will be cooldown 13. And this will be 13 as well. Now, generally, as you can see by just how bloody long the cooldowns are, you're not really expected to be able to use the each of these skills more than once per fight. However, there are fights that drag on a decent bit. It is definitely something that will happen, so it's nice to have them at high level. Plus, obviously they become a lot stronger each rank up they get. So, how to get other Mystic cards? Well, there are, in the game by default, there are 3 more that you can go for here. You have to clear these little quests to get them, as one might expect. Now, it'll be a bit before your team's strong enough to do these, of course, and they cost a lot of AP. It actually won't even let you attempt an AP 40 node unless your base AP can be at least 40, funnily enough. Despite the overflow we're having. So, this one, yeah, I was hoping it would let me preview the, this is the combat outfit, or the combat suit, or a little fan term for it is calling it the plug suit. This is really good if you have a lot of, if you have quite a few really good supports, because, sorry, it has an attack up for the entire team, then it has a 1-turn stun for one enemy, and then it has its most notable asset, its third skill, is a order change. So you can swap one of your frontline servants with one of your backline servants. So the way people generally use it, most of the time, is you start with a DPS and like 2 supports, and then you use the support skills to juice up your DPS. And now you can swap out one of those supports for a backline support and juice them up even more. Or there's even, if you want to, you can find YouTube videos of this, of people super buff stacking, where they instead swap out the DPS until the support's cooldowns come back, and then manipulate the enemy to kill one of their frontline to bring the DPS back out. And all the buffs the DPS has, since they were in the back line, will still be at full length. They won't expire when you're in the back line. It'll be like they're frozen. So then you can double buff them with the same buffs and just do an insane amount of damage. Now that's a lot less useful nowadays, where there's break bars and stuff for bosses instead of just one massive health bar. But that was the kind of shenanigans people got up to back in the day. So it's one of the more popular Mystic Codes. However, when you're just starting out, it's not going to be very useful for you. And honestly, depending on your rolling luck, it may take a very long time before it would get useful to you, because, again, it's mostly swapping really strong supports around. This one is Mage Academy. What does this one do? It shuffles your command cards. I think it does that. So if you have a bad hand, you can take a shot at fixing that. It has a party HP heal, so instead of the single target like the default command code has, or Mystic Code, it's for party, but of course it's a smaller heal than the single target one is. And it has a 20% MP battery for one servant, which can actually be fairly handy. And then this one, the Atlas Institute uniform, is really good for soloing actually, because it has a 1-turn invincibility, it can remove debuffs, and it can reduce one servant's skill cooldowns by 2. So they're very handy when it comes to soloing. Of course, the default Mystic Code, depending on it really depends on the servant's kit and how the fight's set up, which is better if you're trying to solo with a unit. If you want to watch, you want to learn more about like soloing and stuff, you can watch like Honiko Green's channel, because he does a lot of that, and he's much better at the game than I'll ever be. And besides that, you either have to wait for an event that will give away a Mystic card, or at least you can earn a Mystic card in it, of which the upcoming summer event actually is one. The next event, summer event, gives a really good tropical summer Mystic card that's very good for archetype servants. Yeah, its fair skill gives it juices up a servant's art performance and MP damage. Its second skill makes their art cards absorb more crit stars, so it gives them higher star weight on their arts cards, so they have a much better crit chance in a group. Or even if they're solo, because the way the cards distribute them, the crit stars distribute themselves, is fairly random. So this makes them focus on the blues, so you can probably loop EMP quite a few times. And then the other one will increase buff removal resistance and is a 10% NP gauge battery. So it's a very solid arts support Mystic card. And I definitely recommend doing your best to get it. So anyone that's starting now, make sure to get on that. And then besides that, there are also Mystic cards available in the Rare Prism shop. So recall Rare Prisms, as it says here. You burn a 4 or 5 star servant and get a Rare Prism, but they also are given away in events. Or if you've done an event and gotten the welfare, got all 5 copies of the welfare from the event, and now the event reruns, every time you get a copy of the welfare now, they will give you a Rare Prism, which is really lovely. And one of the first things I do with the Rare Prisms when I get 5 of them is unlocking... Where is it? There are quite a bit of stuff here now. The Rare Prism shop actually wasn't much of a thing when I started playing. Did I? Well, here's one of them. Royal Brand. There are a few... Here it is. Anniversary Blonde. This is a really good craft essence for Buster type units. It gives you a large Buster up for a turn. Its second skill gives you, I think it marks level 25 crit stars, which is a good chunk. And it has a 1-turn guts. So you got a lot of damage, a lot of crit, and a turn of, we'll say, soft survival. Now, if your solo guts is pretty much hard survival unless you have a dart on you or they remove the buff. But again, if they remove the buff, then hard or soft survival, either one doesn't really matter. So the way guts works is, as you would expect, if you lose all your HP, you revive with a certain amount of health, depending on the guts. Some will revive at like 1 HP. Some will give you half health even. It really depends on where the guts came from and how it's worded. This one though, I'm actually not certain what it revives you with. Okay, so at level 1 it revives you with 2,000. And at level 10, or rank 10, 4,000 HP. So that's what it is. So yeah, that's one of the things I prioritize as getting that craft essence, because you're always going to have decent busters available, and busters are fairly straightforward to use, and there's good low-level buster support already in Shakespeare and Shingon. And then Hans can even add some crit stars for you, because Buster really likes their crits, because they're already doing insane damage. And when they crit, they basically do MP level damage, so that's really nice. But besides that, other things to grab eventually would be like these, because they help with grinding. There are certain craft essences that will raise the amount of bond or QP or the experience for like raising mystic cards or your master level by having them equipped. But those, like, I've only just now acquired one of the things myself at MLB 5. It took. I'm completely out of. I actually have more mana prisms on this alt account than I do on my main now, because it cleaned me out so much in doing that. They're quite expensive, because what it is you pay one rare prism to unlock this for purchase in the mana prism shop, and it's going to be there permanently from there until you can buy it. And then there are 5 copies, and each of them cost 1,000 mana prisms each, which sounds like a lot, but as long as you do your events, you end up getting quite a bit of mana prisms. And when it comes to after anniversary blonde things to get, good Cs like these two, you want to aim for 5 copies of these, or even just the first copy is really handy. This gives you a 25% attack up against divine enemies, of which there are quite a few in the game, and a lot of them are bosses, and some nice starting MP. And one of the best things about it is it's full attack. Those are for offensively minded CEs. You obviously would rather have all attack, so fully maxed out, it's a plus 2,000 attack. That's a chunk. Also, fully MLB, you'll get, this is a 50% starting CE, but it will take a while to get enough rare prisms for that, unless you open your wallet, and depending on how your luck is. And this one's another one. I'm actually focusing this one first, personally, because it's handy. It's another eventual 50% starting MP. But the big thing is it has Ignore Invincible, so that's invulnerability or evade. It counts as both, which is probably not intended, but just like our MP gauge got to 99%, but it rounded up to 100%, whereas probably a bug. We take those. And again, this one's also all attack stat. So this one was my personal next target after getting Anniversary Blonde, just because there are some really rough boss fights where enemies will be spamming evade. It's typically evade and not invulnerable, but those can be quite annoying, because unlike you, who have skill cooldowns, the enemy doesn't. They could theoretically do it every bloody turn if they wanted. But yeah, those are rare prisms, but depending on your luck, and if you get servants you hate really early on, it could be quite a while before you have to worry about that. Okay. Well, here we are. Rider enemy. So we'll bust out our little assassin lass. Of course, this fight's just an introduction against these wyvern enemies. Got a lot of health on them. They have a high crit rate. They're definitely a step up from any of the enemies you've been fighting, any of the non-boss enemies you've been fighting to this point. Of course, Gramps here is just going to wreck the poor thing. So yeah, we could make it easy even if, like I was really wanting to get Asuka before I started doing this because she's the assassin I want to prioritize leveling, unless we get a random gold that I really like. But frankly, even then, it would have to be just completely off the top of my head, it would have to be something like Jack, because Asuka is really bloody good, and she's better than a lot of the gold assassins with grails. Now we got some dragon fangs. You're gonna need a lot of those. That's also another material that's gonna make you cry. My apologies in advance. But yeah, right now we can, even without having an assassin, you can always just lean on your support to carry you. Speaking of, let's alright. See, I kind of want to play around with soloing a bit, but at the same time I want to get this bad boy bond, so I can't really justify it. Oh well, eventually maybe. I haven't done nearly as much soloing as I'd like to give a crack at, so I'm not super experienced with it, unfortunately. That being said, Heracles, so this is how good he is. If you can find a mate that has him max level, fully kitted out, fully skilled up, and with his Bond craft essence, he can solo the entirety of the first arc of the story, with the exception of parts of the second to last singularity, because of a certain mechanic it has that can be quite frustrating for him. So, Serenity can decrease charge and critical rate for an enemy. That's her initial skill. And I think I've mentioned it before, but decreasing crit rate is actually really bloody good. Because crits will give you a bad time. They're still holding back on the wyverns a little. They want to ease us into it. It's kind of funny. Don't worry, pretty soon they start absolutely spamming you with things. Use karma. Maybe. Yeah, won't hurt anything. actually don't get an opportunity to use Karma very often. There aren't many I have access to on my main, and I obviously don't have her. She's limited, so you have to roll for her when she's rated up, specifically. And it was a banner I was thinking about because she shared it with Parvati, who's a really good AoE quick lancer. However, I realized I was somehow acquiring quite a bit of art support, and I really like Lambda, or Melt Lilith, quite a bit. So I decided I'll just go for her instead because I have a lot of art support. She's arts, and she's a character I quite like. So that's how that decision-making process went. Because with quick, it's mostly Scotty or bust, quick support-wise. Unfortunately. Now, Osakabe Hime, or Neat, as some have taken to calling her, is sort of a semi-quick, semi-buster support, but she's another 5-star you might not have. Now she is non-limited, so she can't spook you, so it's not as difficult to have her as Scotty, but let's let level 30, no attack buff. I think I can give an attack buff, right? No, that's MP charge. Yes, okay. I'm not entirely certain she'll kill here. She should. We'll see. It's a brave chain, starting with Buster, or yeah. That's the big sad. Assassins, unfortunately, have a really bad damage modifier, so their normal attacks are pretty weak even against riders. Crits are generally pretty strong, but crits are always bloody strong. There's us a nice level up. And our cost shot up by 3. So now we could actually have 2 4-stars in the party if we wanted. I actually start tinkering around with craft essences a bit. Of course, we still don't really have many worth tinkering with at the moment. Yes, just keep pumping those at us. Small. If you raise St. George, he needs some. I'm pretty sure he needs some. Maybe hero proofs he needs. I'm actually drawing a blank. Now we're going well, since I mentioned it, let's go ahead and let the prince have his fun. So as you can tell, we're obviously journeying with the Jean, which makes sense considering she's French and we're in France. Guess we'll go and do this for kicks and cookies. Having a battery on a 5-turn cooldown is pretty nice. So it didn't used to have the battery And then we got a skill upgrade not super long ago, in NA at least, that added the battery and also fixed the amount of crit stars. So at rank 10, Nat gives 15, but for whatever reason they had it giving 14 before, which is just annoying from a organized. Just it doesn't make any bloody sense. I feel sorry for the really OCD people. I wonder if we're going to finally be able to get our MP off sometime. Science point 2. Probably not. Although they should be able to pretty easily take care of these buggers. Guess we'll see. Yeah, he has pretty good MP gain. Well, he's getting helped very slightly from Zelrich with the 5%, but nah, we just mana burst and unleash all that hero power on everyone. Give us more skill gems. We need a lot of them. Unfortunately, neither of those are classes we have sabers available, but it's going to be a while before we figure out what skills to level from lean, or which order rather. Now we're back to this number. Guess we'll go with Gramps again. Okay, that's barely enough. I was concerned. I don't know why I was concerned. It would have been one extra turn. Oh, don't know if Spinal's still around, but if so, Gramps is the one you were curious about. It's the edgy boy. He's currently on radar, so You can take a crack at that if you like, if you've started already. Ah, Berserker. Don't have access to any foreigners. That's fine. It's only fair that we use Jolt, I feel. There, we'll just leave it like this. Now let's see, Berserker. Is this Lancelot or Vlad? Maybe it's Vlad. It's been way too long since I went through Orleans. Okay, it's Vlad. So Jalta is sort of your premier beat stick. She does approximately all of the damage. Her MP is really strong damage-wise. Besides that, she can do really good bust to crit damage. She's got a good charisma, and if you happen to have dragon allies, it's a double charisma because it boosts them again. She's got a big 110 mana burst, also gives her invuln for 110. And just like her summer version, she'll decrease her health by 1,000. So nothing too bad there. We'll go ahead and none of these are dragons though. We'll go ahead and let Robin have a go. It would be nice to get his MP. Wait. In that case, right. Unfortunately, that's very bad news. Draining IMP like that. Oh well. Let's let her do some damage. If he didn't have MP drain, I might have let it drag out. I forgot that he would do that actually. So he has that, Camilla has that, Uriel has something similar. That's another one of those. They still haven't done any adjustments with that. We got a berserker piece. We were at 0, so that's lovely. I'm not sure if that's a guaranteed drop either, so I think we actually finally had a bit of luck there. But at rank 10, those vampirisms will charge your gauge by 28%. Why it isn't just a flat 30, I'll never know. Okay, this should be Carmilla, which makes this an interesting fight, because as you see, it's a mixed note. If you bring an assassin, an assassin will do neutral damage to Carmilla and then wreck the dragons or the wyverns. But then, if you bring a caster that can do bonus damage, a DPS caster on here. What are the odds? The rider will have an advantage, the wyverns will have an advantage against them. However, that's where this comes in. Good old alter ego. Well, it confuses me a bit when people sleep on the class. It's like, yes, in a pure damage race situation, if you were going one-on-one with a cavalry class, then directly counterclassing them, of course, is going to be stronger. But there are quite a few nodes that are mixed cavalry, especially in cavalry for whatever reason, where it's not quite as simple as just countering them with one unit. So they can really come in handy there. Unfortunately, alter egos aren't the easiest thing to come by. Sadly, there is a welfare when Mecha Elizabeth, but her events and event rerun have already left NA last October, unfortunately. Got to love that 50% bounce rate. I think I've went over why Kiana was so good before. Since she has triple arts here, if this was a break bar or something, then she would get her 2 arts attacks and then her extra attack. So I would use this to boost her MP gain, and she would have a good shot of looping her MP and being able to use it again next turn. Her MP ignoring invincibility is also just brilliant. When she's on your side, when she's a boss, it's a bloody nightmare, and it makes you very sad, but that's not the case here. There's an assassin, so I guess it's 7. Of course, we're holding out for Ossico. It may be a bit silly of us to do because it could be a very, very long time before she shows up. On my main, it took forever to get Fuma. I'd actually cleared the entirety of Act 1, or Arc 1, of the story before I finally got a single copy of Fuma. And Cuckoo Lane. I didn't have either of them. It was a disaster. Of course, Ku's the one that really hurts, because again, Fuma needs he's got a lot of buffs that you need to do, and unfortunately they're locked behind very late story progress. This person really likes Kurzidon. Guess we'll use Shiki's getting a lot of cards here. %2 more and she could get her MP. Now, since Shiki used so many cards, there was no way we'd be able to one-turn this wave. Yeah, we'll kill one of them. Get good MP gain. So Serenity's MP inflicts poison, can skill seal and MP seal, both of which are really nice. However, it also has instant death chance, which actually hurts a bit. Well, instant death's kind of a blessing and a curse. Well, in that if it procs, you don't get MP refund from that enemy. So if you're trying to loop your MP, this is predominantly more in play with AREs. There's a welfare lancer that's arts with an ARE MP that came out last year in Japan, and she has instant death chance on her NP, which really hurts her when it comes to refund and potential looping shenanigans, because the instant death procs before the damage. If they did damage first and then made an attempt at instant death anyone that survived, it'd be different, but unfortunately a lot of them don't do that, and they proc it first, so it's unfortunate. Well, the good news is Shiki's MP really likes giving me 4 Shiki cards. So the interesting thing about Shiki is her quick actually gets pretty good MP gain, because it has a lot of hits to it. In fact, probably should have put her quick last to get the most MP gain out of it, but we were already so close to it, it didn't matter. Well, frankly, we could just use our battery to get it. Now we've got these red wyverns, wyvern dreads. Besides being tanky, having more health and hitting a bit harder, they seem to crit even more often than the green wyverns do. So do keep an eye out for that. But we know how to deal with those. I'm actually going to use this on Serenity, so she can perhaps kill this other wyvern. She'll get her MP next turn though. If she doesn't, she also has a 70% chance of one of those cards critting, and if she gets a crit, it's definitely going to kill. Probably. So as you can see, Shiki's MP insta-killed before doing any damage, so she didn't get any refund off of that. Well, at least now we can show Serenity's MP. It won't be too impressive, she's at MP 1, and it's not upgraded yet. But here it is. Death actually procced. So it's quite literal kiss of death. So that's if you didn't know. Lore-wise, her skin it basically produces poison in the natural body oils bodies produce. So that's what that was about. So no lewd hand holding with her, or it's the last thing you'll do. Of course, our character has a bit of a plot contrivance, a reason why they can't, where they for some reason get poison immunity, just because Marsh is our servant. It's a bit amusing. What is this one? Presumably it's just dragons and maybe some soldiers. You know what, let's give Cursed Arm a go. I'm actually going to do this, just because he's going to pack quite a bit of more of a wallop than she will. There's Marie Antoinette. most people seem to quite enjoy what they did to their dialogue for some reason. That is certainly an arm. Yeah, it's just zombies. So Cursed Arm, he can gain crit stars. Basically, he will instant. I'll just show you, bloody hell. So at rank 10, fitting crit stars, just like Artoria, and then he'll make some more at the end of the turn. So he can basically help you with 2 turns of crits. Then this will buff said crit strength. Of course, he's only got 1 card and it's 20%. And then he's got a Ku-esque level of really good evade, where it's 3 hits and it doesn't expire and it's a 5-turn cooldown. And it causes him to generate even more stars. Now, unfortunately, I forgot that I already did this because the evade doesn't stack, but so don't do what I did, kids. Pay attention to what skills you use. Now, and what to do? Archers, as you might guess, generally have a decently high star weight. That was unfortunate. We have Lon Ling's MP though, which is an interesting one because it drains MP gauge from the enemies, lowers their crit rate, buffs your attack for all your allies, and gives them a damage cut as well. So juices up the defense as well, pretty much. Or remember what I said about how with a single target MP you could take out multiple opponents despite being, well, single target. So this buster should destroy that Zombo. Easy as. And now we're going to juice our team up. And now his quick card and extra attack will take care of the last little bugger. Now we need Cursed Arm to do his stuff, unfortunately. His star weight must be very poor. Since we're so juiced up attack wise, this unlucky. 60% crit. Now fails every time. Okay, I'm glad that it did that. So now we know that when it comes to this evade and the invuln is prioritized. I don't suppose it really matters, but depending on if the enemy has sure hit but not pierce invuln. But it's new information. I can't pass this the old classic triple arts cards. Plus David's got some good, a decent level of attack for being a 3-star. So now he can use his MP, which isn't upgraded for a while. Still, it only recently got upgraded in JP. Well, I guess it wasn't too recent now. I'm bad to lose track of time, unfortunately, so I may be exaggerating a bit how long it will be before it gets upgraded. But I definitely next year at some point. Probably. No, definitely next year. Well. Okay, and Juice's attack after that. We're going to Brave Chain with it. Was that like a 20% crit? David's got a horseshoe somewhere badly. Now we can use this and actually get the proper value. Actually, he's got 4 cards. Surely he can get some crits. Wow. We could just triple quick, but for maximum star gen. But I wanted him to get at least 1 crit. That would have been nearly 40 stars for next turn. There would have been lots of crits if we needed them. That's what we like to see, hero proofs. Of course, this isn't something to sneeze at either. It's beautiful. 3 dragon fangs. Just keep them coming. Judah. Yeah, here 5 fight node. How many Saint Courts are we at? Also, we have some FP summons ready. Oh well. We'll do a couple FP summons. And we'll do our 1 Saint Quartz summon. That wants something nice. Wow, we got a mana prism. Okay. Now this is a bit interesting. Also, I not pointed this out, but Jean, Marie, and Mozart are all available as guest supports for a bit. Da Vinci's single target, I'm pretty sure. What? Oh no, she's AoE. Okay. You know what? I have never used Casted Da Vinci before. So, we'll give it a go. The craft essence she's got a really pretty solid craft essence for arts as well. Where did it come from? It came from last year's Halloween event, Oniland, which will get a rerun this year. However, unfortunately that event is locked behind Lost Belt 2. Lost Belt is the Arc 2 of the main story. And that's what we're currently in, even in JP. is Lost Belt story Arc 2. So it's very unlikely you'll be able to, if you're starting now. It's unlikely, unless you really bust your bum, that you'll get you'll clear Lost Belt 2 in time to be able to even do the event, unfortunately. And it's the rerun too. It has a good single target caster welfare too. A caster shooting Dorji. She's a very popular character as well. So it's a really nice event if you can qualify for it. Now, don't get me wrong, you can't get there quick enough. You just really have to bust your bum. Because, I mean, that's what I did starting out. There was an event locked behind Solomon, which is basically, it was locked behind clearing the entirety of Arc 1 of the story, and it was very it wasn't super long after I started playing, and I managed to make it in time. I even cleared Lost Belt 1 before that event started, come to think of it. Lost Belt 2 hadn't come out yet. In NA at least. Okay, what should do? Random effects. That doesn't really help me. So it's definitely a guts. Okay, she's got MP regen. What's her battery? Oh, 50% battery. That's really nice. I'm currently attempting to recall to myself whether she is limited or unlimited. I want to say she's limited. She's most likely limited. I'll look it up though. She is limited, yes. Okay. I am not that insane. We'll go ahead and do this as well. So she's immune to debuffs for 2 turns. That's an interesting number, 2 turns instead of 3 or 1. She's going to heal her health and give herself some extra MP after every turn. It's very odd. I feel like I've looked at it before, but I could not remember anything about what her kit is. Alright, that was unfortunate. However, goal is just to get her MP in time. She just needs 12%. Should have some arts cuts. There we go. Okay, make Lon Ling invincible for a while. So this is... Wait, I had it pulled up. I should have looked at what her fair skill actually does. Silly me. Okay, self-guts 1 time 3 turns. 85% chance to increase her own MP damage for 1 turn. And 85% chance to increase her own defense for 3 turns. Okay. So that's what it is. And the 85% is inherent. It's not something that ranks up like a lot of these chance to activate skills do, which is pretty good to know. That means you can hold off on raising this if you happen to acquire her from a GSSR or whenever she's rated up. I feel like she gets rate ups from time to time. I don't think she's one of the ones that got like 2 and then now it's GSSR. Or just pray JP remembers she exists and then throws her on a random banner. But I wouldn't swear to that. She's kind of a poster girl for FGO, so she pops up all the bloody time. So I may just be getting mixed up with that. What to do here? Well, we definitely don't want David to have a whack at that one, because he'll do nothing to it. Meanwhile, it will wreck him. There we go. Now she's got her MP. Alright. So this craft essence royal icing, it's pure attack and not a big 15% odds up, as well as 25% MP strength. So there's some good increases. Plus most are really fond of the artwork of it. Now let's see if we get lucky and get the MP up. Or we did. I've obviously never seen her MP in action, so this will be an experience. She also inherently gives herself an MP damage up before casting her MP anyway. So I'm pretty sure that was all neutral. I don't think any of those were assassins. So those were practically only her own buffs. Well, besides the slight attack up from the Mystico. But we're only level 2, so it's not that big of one. As for the charisma from Lon Ling, it's at rank 1, so similarly it's not much of a boost. Gonna get some 5 assassin pieces from this. That's really lovely. We'll go Saber this time. So these particular enemies here, these werewolves, can drop Yggdrasil seeds. Now those are another very important material that we'll need a lot of, because Robin, David needs them for sure, Kukulane needs them for sure, and I think Ushi needs some as well. Just off the top of my head, I'll check. So Mash needs them for skill ranks. She needs 5 each skill. Robin Hood needs a lot of them. Arash needs them. Kukulane needs them. Protoku needs them. Honestly, most of the 1 to 3 star lancers need them. Kostaku needs them. Of course, now that we have Nitocris, we're going to level her instead. So, that at least cuts those out. And Spartacus needs them, if you want to level him. So yeah. So, we would need them for Ku, Robin. I could have sworn David needed some. Must be something else that he needs, and Marsh. For us in particular here. Also, a lot of the starter role summons that you could get, like Nursery Rhyme, Atalanta. Who else? I think they removed Dion from Starter Summon, but Suzuka's there. She needs them. Siegfried needs them. Basically, a lot of servants that you're likely to have access to as a beginner needs them, and needs a lot of them, is the moral of the story. And these werewolves are the primary enemy that drops them. She'll easily kill the other ones, so we'll let him have a go at this. Come on, Ling, you make me sad. So a key tip when you're going to get overkill here is to put your arts card at last, just because it'll get that much more MP gain. So there's another probable bug that's, might as well call it a feature, where if you can deal half of an enemy's health in damage, a little over half, then you will trigger the overkill. Okay, so if you overkill an enemy, any quick card that hits afterwards will generate even more stars than they normally would. Any arts card will generate more MP gain than they normally would. But there's sort of a bug in the game of where if you can deal a really hefty blow of like that just takes down from like full to like half health or a bit below, it will trigger that overkill gauge even though they're not overkilled. So that could be something you can work on setting up to quickly get your MP gauge if you like. Got a bond up for Lon Ling. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention it before, but as you increase bond levels, you get more of their character profiles unlocked if you enjoy reading that stuff. If you want to look at that, you can go to a page I've went through quite a bit to show you stuff. Go to Spirit Origin List, just click on somebody, and there's the profile. You can look at all that stuff. That's also where you go to set what, say, ascension you like their in-game appearance. So you can set the portrait on the command card. You can set if you want them to appear different on the base card, and their icon, and then status icon. Could use this opportunity to show you why Wave is so bloody good. I think I will. So, if you do any research about the game and watch any videos, try to read up and learn things, you'll come across a lot of people. You will likely see comments or hear people talking about how amazing Wave is, and he's one of the best supports in the game, which is true. Has been ever since he dropped. Or at least when they fixed him. And here's why. So, he provides a great deal of MP charge. In fact, so if he uses every skill, he will give your entire party 20% charge, and one of your teammates 50% charge. But on top of that, this gives you a very high up. This is the one this is a 30% charge to one ally. That also gives a massive critical strength increase. Your crits will just hit like a truck with this. This is a very... I'll pull up the exact numbers for you. There's no sense in using abstract words here when I can pull up the proper numbers. So it's a 50% crit strength up. That's pretty big. That's a big boost. It's rare to get boosts that are over 50% or even near 50%. The defense up is a 30% defense up, and then 500 extra damage taken off afterwards. And then the attack up is 30%, and then an extra 500 damage added to it per attack. So that's a lot of stats. That's a lot of battery. And 30% up for the entire team is about as high as Charisma gets. Like the only thing that really tops that are the Charismas that can double proc depending on what on alignment or particular traits certain units have. But those are more niche because you have to have said units for it to double proc on. And since these are generic increases crit strength and just attack in general, he works with any party. He works with arts, he works with bust, and he works with quicks. Similarly, so it's a bit similar to like David or Hans, why they're good in any party, because anyone can benefit from having, you know, a free hit that can last until this gets back up, and then he'll have a fairly large charisma of his own eventually when we unlock it. Let's go ahead and see it in action. So just like that. We haven't even attacked yet, and he's already at 75%. It actually works well with so craft essence wise, you can give him starting MP to get his MP up if you like, because it's actually fairly handy. It drains charge from the enemies and their MP gauge, and has a decent chance of stun for a turn, so they can't do anything when they're stunned. Curse is just extra dart damage, and it's a 6-turn curse, which is actually pretty lengthy. And also lowers their defense for 3 turns, all in an ARE. So it just really annoys the enemy. But a common thing I see a lot of people recommending as well, depending on the support, is giving them a C that possibly creates more crit stars each turn, just to help your team get more crits. because crits are always lovely. Unfortunately, I don't have anything better than ones that will generate 4. There's a non-limited craft essence that's 5-star that can spook you anytime, called is it Memories of the Year 2030? Fragments of 2030. And by default, it gives you 8 per turn just out of the gate, not even max limit broke it. If you can max limit break it, then it's 10 per turn. So that's really nice. But unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it. I had a copy of it on one of my alts back in the day, but unfortunately, that alts went the way of the dodo. I think I'm just going to do this. It's just how easy it is to get MP. So even Waver here, who didn't have starting MP, is already at 84%. Just going to do this. Then we'll do this to get some refund. Thought about giving David some charge, but then I realized why. See, we actually got a crit there, so we got quite a bit of refund. And Waver's skills are on fairly low cooldown for how strong they are. This one's 5 turns, and that's the big battery, the 30%. So that's that'd be back really quickly. If you had Atlas Mystic Guard, you could he could already have it available right now, and then these two would come up next turn. Hopefully I've already used that. It's not. See, our defense is shot up so much. That crit barely scratched little Long Ling here. Waver can finish off the second pretty easily. So yeah, he's very good at speeding fights up and getting your UMPs going. Because Noble Phantasms typically mean good things are happening for you. When you're using them, at least. It's obviously not a good thing when your enemy's using them. Alright, that's unlucky. That happens from time to time. Alright, this is an interesting battle. Is this where we fight Martha? Shame I don't have access to a Jack or a Carmilla. You know, let's let Heracles stretch his legs a wee bit. Let's actually give him a better craft. Oh, we actually can't do that. Just a wee bit out of our price range, so to speak. It's a shame. I think this may be the fight against Martha. would not swear to it though. Gain shoddy memory and all that. It's been a while. I don't want to do this turn. He should one-shot that, so... We'll just hope the Wyvern doesn't crit Heracles and one-shot him. Well... Getting rid of the evade, I see you. Well, this is fine. We have access to Shiki's MP, if this is Martha. But it probably isn't, because typically the big servant fight is the last fight in the chain. Yeah, it's just one of these buggers. Oh well. I'm not certain I've shown her NP and gotten to see it actually do proper damage on stream before, because it keeps insta-killing. It's kind of funny. We'll try to use it again though if we get to the Martha fight, which should be this one. Probably. Guess we'll find out. Although, I thought Martha wasn't alone. Yeah, this may just be a bunch of wyverns instead. As you can see, she gets pretty good MP gain off her quicks. And that was in the middle of the pack. It would have been even better if that was at the end. Oh, come on. That's no fair. I guess it's the rerun. Or the free quest that does that. It's alright, we'll just do this. Hope she gets to 70%, which she should easily. Yeah, those are the crits. Martha's one of the potential starting servants you can get, and she's actually really good. She's very handy. She also has a bunch of interludes and upgrade quests and stuff. So you can have a lot of fun doing those. Alright, let's get rid of her. Unfortunately, we don't have like crits set up or the like. A way to really buff her attack to where she could one-turn miss. But she will clear out 2 of them at least. And perhaps even get a MP back. We'll see. There we go, there's just some damage. Yeah, if she had some crits, it would have been an easy recursion for MP. That's another thing they can do. They can just juice up their damage on you. That's no fun. But he's gone now, so we don't have to worry about it. Or sure, Heracles now creates 2 10% chances. Game 1. What are you doing to this game? Nice rider piece. Definitely need all of those we can get. Because besides Ushi, we also need to perhaps level St. George a bit. What's it? That's after we get more copies of him. As you see, we have our interlude available here, but we're nowhere near the level we need to be to... Well, technically we could, between Heracles and a support list unit, we'll be fine, but our teammates would be practically useless. That's not what I wanted. We're in pretty dire need of some fires. They actually, if you can completely fire one of your units, they can actually get quite a bit out of. It's a very noticeable boost for them. I mean, it's another 1000 attack and 1000 HP. It's like, that's a 20% increase of attack. But on Ling, just already. So we're going to do this. Try to min-max our MP gain a bit. Well, I was hoping to get her some MP gain, but they actually killed them. See, her arts cards get pretty good MP gain, despite not having all that many hits. Okay, so I brought up waiver earlier. There's actually a very important occasion that should be happening in NA next year around March-ish. And that is a very special download campaign where they give away, so far the only time they've done this, an SSR ticket where you can just select one of the non-limited, non-story locked 5-star units, and as long as you ascend them once and get them to bond 5 before the event ends, they will become permanent for you. So you get to pick a 5-star basically. Tori is one of, I don't know. In Japan, it was the 20 million downloads campaign. However, so any non-limited and non-story locked. It's unfortunate they didn't include story locked because there's a lot of there's a few characters that are quite popular in there that people might have liked, like Cedar Knight, for example, or Lancer Autoria. But anyway, so you can pick one of 3 sabers, being Attila or Altera, as they've taken to calling her, Altera, OG Artoria, or Mordred. Bet you can guess which one I will pick when we get to that. But you can be Archer is Arjuna, Orion, which is really Artemis, or Napoleon. Lancer is Enkidu, Karna or Bradamante. Rider, Achilles, Europa, Ozymandias or Francis Drake. Caster, Anastasia, Sonzong, Sehezarad, Zhuge Liang. Waver. So that's the one. If he's not spooked you between now and then, that's the one. If you wanted to go pure gameplay, he will completely turn your world upside down if you grab him. So if you purely wanted my recommendation, it would be him, and that's definitely going to be what most of the player base probably picks. Or Tamamar. If Tamamar hadn't spooked me, I was planning on grabbing her just to add more art support, but then she spooked me, so thankfully I can actually use it on Mordred, like my heart really wanted to. Assassin is Osaka Behime or Jack the Ripper. Berserker is Vlad or Zhang Yu or Nightingale, who I'm shocked has not spooked me yet, because she spooked me. I have an MP 2 or 3 on my main, all from spooks, of course, because I don't think she's had a raid up since I've been playing. And then she spooked me on every single alt that I had attempted to make, which was like 2 or 3. So I'm still waiting for her to show up here. Now, to be fair, she's actually a really good support for like a buster, because she gives you a nice 50% buster up for 3 turns. She can heal, she can remove debuffs. I think she removes debuffs. Wait a minute. It's unfortunately been a while since I've actually used her. Yeah, debuff immunity for 3 turns. She can actually do pretty decent face card damage, because she can get a big humanoid. Her second skill is a big humanoid damage buff, as well as making her tankier against them. And yeah, her MP is really handy because it halves all the enemy's attack for 1 turn, removes your party's debuffs, and gives everyone a fairly sizable heal. Like, she can make your team be able to survive Noble Phantasms, since she cuts the enemy's attack in half for that turn. Oh, and besides that, extra classes ruler, you have Jeanne d'Arc, or Moon Cancer, you have Chinakor Kadagiri, who is Ganesh. She's the chubby glasses girl, is basically what she is. So those are your choices. So feel free to look those up and see which one you like. If you aren't really planning on waiver, or if you wanted to go with one you liked instead of waiver, and he wasn't the one you liked. But hopefully, if you roll before then, he spooks you, so you can freely pick one that you would actually properly like and not have to worry about going purely gameplay on it. But he definitely makes things a lot easier for you, I can attest. Also, you pop him on your friends list and he will get rented a lot as well, so you can get quite a bit of FP from having him. It's interesting that it defaults us to Archer, even though Saber's the one that only has advantage and no disadvantage. Keep going, Aerie. This singularity is quite a bit longer than Fuyuki, so I don't think we'll complete it this stream, because it will take a while, but we should be able to take a big chunk out of it, at least. Later singularities start getting so they'll have more sections to them, or chapters rather, but will actually in practice be a bit shorter, because some of these early singularities, if you'll notice, a lot of these nodes are just back-to-back fights against little cannon fodder enemies. And unfortunately, the early game is chock-a-block full of those kind of things, which is kind of padding, and can admittedly make it a bit of a slog to start with. That's why it's really important to find ways to have fun and experiment and learn about mechanics and the like, to keep you engaged. Because before long, the story starts picking up, and then they start better structuring their actual fights and the like, and the way they do the nodes. You'll even start getting ones that there's not even a fight on the node, but it's an important cutscene, for example, later on, because of how much they actually finally start paying attention to the story. That really starts in like Camelot and Babylonia rather. Yeah. For some reason I had it in my head that those were still answers, even though I was looking right at the saber symbol. I believe I'm losing my ability to talk. I never had much of one. I actually wasn't aware Jinako was a moon cancer. For some reason I thought she was a ruler. She's not been in the game in a very long. She was added at the beginning of the last story arc that was added to DNA. Last bit 4. Yeah, sorry. Orleans has 15 chapters, right? So it's a decent bit longer than, well, it doesn't seem that much longer than Fuyuki, but the nodes are bigger as well. It's 4 more chapters, and chapters often have quite a bit more nodes to them. I'm on 60% crit. Okay. Oh well, it doesn't matter. One lane should be able to kill that one pretty easily. Of course, with a quick guard, there's no way David's going to. Yeah. Well, let David have a go around, since it's a saber. So he's actually very solid with his card attack damage. His MP leaves a lot to be desired, unfortunately, because it's not upgraded yet. Did that get upgraded? Going to check that. So it should be next August, around next wait. Oh, yeah, it's next anniversary. So about a year from now, he'll get his MP upgrade. JP's anniversary is in August. Ours is a month early. Which also means they have to rearrange some events. It's like, for example, the next event should be rerun of Summer 3, where you get Jolter, Berserker, Welfare, and Painting Summer CE. That's a really good CE, by the way. It's if you'll recall the craft essence I have on my Summer Mordred, it's 50% starting MP when it's MLB'd, and it is an arts up and MP gain up, and that's the big one, because arts really love to loop their MP, and that really helps in doing so. One lane should be able to take that out. So we're going to do this. Pretty sure this is a... I think this is a boss fight in Wave 3. That's why I'm really focusing on making sure she has AMP available. Okay. This won't kill. Gonna do this. I was going to use David's card, provided he could hit one of the sabers, but switch to that one because this has a good chance of crit. Might as well try to one-shot him. It doesn't matter though. We're definitely over-leveled for all this. You can actually go through this at level 1 feasibly. But, you know, it's habit of trying to plan out your turns and stuff. It's good to get in the habit of doing that early. You'll need it when you get to actual proper fights later on. Well, I'm disappointed. I thought this was the rematch against like Camilla and Vlad, but it wasn't. Oh well. Should be able to kill 2 of them pretty easy. Okay, you should be able to take out 2 of them pretty easy. Yeah, there we go. Just need that buster bonus. Oh, Heracles is... He is slowly acquiring Bond. Oh, we section-wise here. 7 out of 15. So we're about halfway through. I think we'll do this one and maybe the next one, and then we'll call it a stream. And we'll do the second half of this next time. Okay, this one. I can't remember, did I? Or I did. Bugger. I did waste Ascension Mats on Ascending Castaku. I should have waited. If only I knew we would be spooked by night with Nidocris. Because we definitely want access to her second skill as soon as possible. Good news is we only have to send her once to get that. It will be a while before we can get her MP upgrade though, because I'm pretty sure that's locked in Camelot, which is also where a lot of her skill and ascension materials starts being available. That's also something you have to worry about, is sometimes the materials a servant needs to be upgraded can be quite late in the story. Now, thankfully that's not a problem for a lot of the early servants, which also happens to be a lot of the early ones that you're more commonly going to get. the lower rarity ones. But then you have the drawback of they all sort of cannibalize each other's. They all need the same mass, so it's rough going either way. Guess we'll just do this. I think I'm actually going to level Longling after this. Or, something I didn't mention yet is growth rates. So there's a certain amount of growth rates, or growth patterns, that servants can have. And what it basically are growth curves really. There's linear, there's S, there's reverse S, semi-S, and semi-reverse S. And the way they work is linear, they will gain the same amount of starts every time. Marsh, for example, is linear. And when you grail a servant, every grailed level, so past their very base max level, will all gain stats at a linear growth rate, regardless of what their growth rate was before. So linear, they gain the same amount of starts, HP and attack, every level up. S, they gain few stats at the beginning and at the end, but in the mid levels they really jump up. So Saber Alter, if we got spooked by her, well, we keep rolling story to try to get her. She's like that. Hans is like that. Of course, it doesn't matter as much for the support because you're not really caring that much about their offensive capabilities. Reverse S is they grow quickly at the beginning and at the end, but don't change much in the middle. And then semi-S and semi-reverse S are similar to their full-on counterparts, but a little more in between in that S isn't quite as good in the middle, but the beginning and the end art is weak growth-wise. And then semi-reverse S follows with that pattern. So if you ever get a unit and then you're leveling them, and you're like, wait a minute, I just pumped 10 levels into this bugger and they're still real weak. Well, that could very well be the reason why. That they just have one of those kind of growth rates that maybe they grow better later on. And generally, you can check the type of growth rate or growth curve they have on their fandom wiki page. It's definitely a site I recommend making a lot of use of. I don't think that the information is available in game though. Unfortunately, yeah. Unless it's in profile. No, it isn't. So now we're section 8. So we'll go through these fights, and then, well, technically, since there's 15 chapters here, doing half of this would be halfway, but no sense not going in and doing all of it. Let's grab. Let's do this number again. Actually, while I'm on growth curves, I'll just on lanes. His is reverse S. Okay, so fairly steady growth then. So he should gradually improve properly as we getting him to 40 should help a decent bit. Or double widen trades. Alright, we'll be able to take him down pretty easy. Probably. Especially with that 10% crit. It's funny how that works. Get 90% crit and it misses, but then 10% crit hits. Generally when it's unneeded too, in my case. Let me think if there's any other game mechanics I'm forgetting. Probably. Or taunts. Well, okay, so taunts, the way they're supposed to work, it seems, because this actually was a bit bugged in NA, and it's something they fixed. So it was originally thought to be a bug, but considering, okay, so generally, okay, so what I'm getting at is when your taunt dies, the enemy's turn ends. So if they kill a taunt, they'll stop attacking for the turn. And in NA, this was bugged a bit. Like when I was going through, it's bugged a bit to where they would sometimes keep attacking, or attack again afterwards. So they could kill your second taunt, for example, in 2 taunts in one turn, or get a free lick on your DPS or your solar unit. But they fixed that now to where it will properly cancel the turn. Similarly, if you're the only unit on the field, so Heracles, he's a primo target for this particular occurrence, where he's all alone. Everyone else is dead on your side of the field, but he's got his guts up. So if they take his health out and they proc his guts, their turn will also end, which is really nice. That keeps them from, in his case, popping all of his guts over and over. Of course, what hurts him about his guts is he revives with... What does he revive with? It's very low. It's not much HP. Yeah, at max rank 2500, which is unfortunate because so if he has enough dot damage stacked on him, the dot ticks after everything else procs as the turn ends. So if the enemy could like kill it, like proc one of his guts, he revives. Their turn ends, so the turn ends. The dot damage takes another guts, so now he's lost an extra turn of combat effectiveness before he dies for good. So remember when I told you that there's a particular point of the second to last singularity in this Act 1. That is very frustrating for him. I think with that hint you should understand what's coming. That causes me to say that. It's a regular wyvern with a little bit higher health than they typically have. Ah, just not enough. Alright, they can poison you. I completely forgot about that. It's not particularly important in the grand scheme of things, but it is a thing they can do. Imagine Spinal's long gone at this point. Never answered when I asked. Asked if he was still here. Okay, we'll just Excalibur this wave, and then I think we have one more fight left for this chapter. It'd be really neat if a second copy of Heracles spooked us sometime to get it into MP2. Then he'd really be back in a wallet. We'd be set really nicely in that case. If it came down to it, though, from time to time, they do give us. Oh, never mind, I was a fight off. They give us a 4-star ticket. Those are the more common tickets that we can get when we reach decent sized milestones in download campaigns. It's actually been a while since we've gotten one, come to think of it. Especially in JP. JP hasn't got one in a while, but they got the 5-star ticket instead. So they might get one event soon enough. I think they're coming on a pretty big DL campaign soonish. It's generally every 5 million. When one's rewarded. So the green ones will raise their crit rate, and the red ones, which already have a high crit rate, will raise their attack even more. The absolute buggers. It'd be cute just to get a little extra MP gain. Oh, extra attacks. It always amuses me. She just beats the hope out of them. Nice Heracles crit. Then she follows that. She won't let him show off. Here's the fight with Zerkalos and Sanson. It's alright though. Units that have 50% batteries skills, or higher batteries even, are very, very useful as it turns out. Who knew? She's only going to get even better from here as well. She's got an MP upgrade coming. I think on New Year's. Maybe it's New Year's. I may be getting mixed up with another one. But she's got one coming eventually. Unless I'm mixing up with her second skill upgrade. And she's already gotten it. Actually, I'm going to look. Yeah, she hasn't gotten her MP upgrade yet. She's gotten both of her skill upgrades. Yeah, those two. This, remove buffs. This is the most recent upgrade she got in an A at least. Removing buffs is, that's lovely. That's really good. And I forget what her MP upgrade, well, it obviously increases her damage even more. But it also does something else, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this is just a single target rematch against Zerkalos, so be nice to go mono a mono with a single target. whatever. Alright, here's the CE I was talking about, Painting Summer. This comes from the Summer 3 event, which should be the next event in 8 gates. Coming up here in a couple weeks. So I definitely recommend doing your best to get as many copies of this bugger as you can. Just playing the event and you can buy most copies from the shop and get the rest from rewards. But certain nodes also have a drop rate, or a chance to drop a copy of it as well. It's small though. Event craft essence drop rates are pretty abysmal. It's like 2% or something. Some of them are like 4% though. But you're going to be doing the nodes so many times that it's actually unlikely for you to not get at least one drop. If you're not being lazy with the event, at least. And this is, to my knowledge, the single best art CE in the game at the moment, with starting MP at least. You know what? There we go. Wait, is it? It was a berserker, right? Should be Lancelot. Yeah. Gosh, she only got one card. Unlucky. So, can we talk about just a moment how insane it is that this woman has she can gen 30 bloody crit stars on a very high arts buff on a 5-turn cooldown. It's madness. On top of that, she's got a 20% battery. Yeah, she would have one-shot him for full health. With odds. No buster needed. Oh, there's a second bond with David. Another berserker piece. That's good. Get out of here, Lancelot. I'm not fond of Lancelot either, for similar reasons of why I'm not fond of Diarmid. Right, that's a free quest only place. And alright, it's a short one. Tempted, but we already said we'd end after that, so we have some summons to do, and I think that'll just about wrap it up. Let's hope summons go promisingly. There's nothing special there. Well, you win some, you lose some. At least we got some more mana prisms. I need to check and make sure I have an MP5, that I have an MP5 before I do that. Okay, they're both at MP5. That's good to know. I can safely burn them. Because these are extra copies. Yeah, we need to protect that. Don't want to accidentally burn a second copy of Camelot. So we can now afford one more summon ticket. Then we only have 2 more we can get this month from the Mana Prism shop. Come on, Asuko. Asuko or Ku. Asuko or Ku. Wow. It'll happen eventually. Probably. I can get rid of that while I'm thinking of it. And that's all for now. So next time we'll obviously roll however many times we can roll after the next login from the Start Dash campaign, where we should be getting near the point where they give us some more tickets as well. So we'll have a handful of rolls. And then see if we can't clear more of Orleans. The thing about it is, I wonder, let's see, what does Orleans actually add? I know it adds Caster Gilgamesh, or Gilles rather. Story lock summons. Summons. Yeah, Orleans just adds Gilles. Caster Gilles. So we don't have to worry about that lowering our chances of getting Saber Altar. Septum, I won't spoil who it is, but it adds another Saber though. 4-star Saber rather. Of course the class doesn't matter, just it being another 4-star will dilute the 4-star pool a bit more. That being said, getting to Camelot and rolling story to try to get more copies of Bedivere would be nice as well. Unless we've gotten a better single target Saber by then. We'll see what happens. So that's all for this stream. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.